Welcome, everyone, to MODcast VR, Episode 5, the official podcast of the Flat to VR modding community. I'm Dr. Greg VR, and this is my co-host, VRAN. Say hey, VRAN.
VRAN.
Yeah.
Hey, VRAN.
And today, we're really excited because we have with us BlueSkyDefender, the author of the... okay, let me get this right. It's Depth 3D Reshade. That's...
Yeah, the shader is Super Depth 3D. But the whole encompassing is Depth 3D, right? Very simple. And it's a shader that you can use with Reshade.
Okay, excellent. See, I knew that, but I'm not really great. VRAN is our Reshade guy, our 3D guy. He knows it way better than I do. So I'm going to ride piggybacking off of him a lot today. So anyway, yeah, it's been what? It's been a month, I think. It's been darn. So yeah, this is long. Sorry, guys. We had just stuff going on with Brand's schedule, and with my schedule, and all that, so we couldn't go. And get in here as quickly as we'd like to, but we're going to go ahead and get started now. And since we've been gone so long, there's been a lot of news, so that's exciting. So we're going to go ahead and start with that. News item number one, and this is pretty recent. It was this last week. Luke Ross has released version 6.0.1 of his mod, and it now supports Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. I believe that's what it is, integrate, right? Is that what it says on there? I don't know. It's whatever that thing is after the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I don't know. I actually tested it last night. I made a video of it. Have you played this at all, Vran? Have you?
No. When you streamed it with 4packs.
I streamed it with 4packs.
I think it was on sale for a limited time, but it was still super expensive.
Yeah, even on sale it was expensive. Yeah. I think so. I think I paid $50 for it. I think it goes for like $70 or something.
70, yeah.
So, what about you, Blue? Have you been playing Final Fantasy VII? Have you tried it at all with in VR?
I've been stuck on Elden Ring, man. It's a long game for me because I only have like 15 vigor. It's like a self-imposed rule, and once you start getting to the later areas, everything pretty much one-shots you. So I've been going through it at a slow, even pace. It's just very difficult but very fun. It's just the way I'm playing. Also, I'm using the Cypher Patas, the fist weapons. So yeah, that's not an easy thing to. Are
you playing it in VR with Luke Ross mod, or are you playing it flat?
Nah, I'm playing with my 3D shader, right?
Okay, all right. 3D. Yeah, of course.
And the cool thing is that, right, my shader works online. I've been playing with my friends co-op. I've been enjoying my shader while playing with them. So that's awesome. That's a big thing, like, because I like playing with my friends. I don't like excluding them. When it comes to these type of games, it's difficult, and I may need help, right? And as I'm getting ganked by someone in the game, it goes pretty smoothly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, with the Luke Ross mod for Final Fantasy VII, one thing people need to understand is to get it to work, you need to put like -DX11 in the launch options. And if you have that's for the Steam version. If you have the Epic version, you have to go into game. There's a video that I actually used on YouTube on how to do this, but you have to go in to game and then go into settings, and then you'll add an extra line there, and it's not that terribly difficult. It's easy to find, but yeah, it won't work without DX11. So, but anyway,
some games you have to force.
Yeah,
some games you have to force 11.
Yeah. Does his mod work with the thing that prevents the downscaling and upscaling? I forget what that mod was.
The FSR,
or because in that game, if you run into performance issues, right, it will lower the resolution.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
I'm sure it probably does actually.
Yeah, some people said that it causes stuttering, so maybe if you disable that, it'll be nice and smoother experience. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it.
I haven't even looked, but I do remember that from back when I played it in Vorpex. What I did yesterday is I just played through the first the first part of the game through basically the big scorpion boss fight in the reactor. And then I did it again. Only this time, the next time, I dropped the resolution down because Luke always has his resolution set at like 2432 by 2432, and that's just for a 2080 Super is what I'm running on. I think that's just a little bit much because even with Cyberpunk, it's the same thing. So what I've done with both of those games actually, is drop it down to 2160 by 2160, and then I'll put the FSR mod in there, the OpenVR API mod, and buttery smooth. Both games. Yeah. I could not believe the difference. When I put FSR on them, Final Fantasy VII, the first time I had the resolution at Luke's resolution, and just regular gameplay, it worked great. But anytime you started getting a lot of effects, or especially cutscenes, it turned into a slideshow. But when I dropped the resolution down one tick, completely solved the issue. So yeah, it's pretty great. So I would recommend that if you don't have, because I think Luke runs his mods on like a 3090 Ti or something like that. If you don't have a card that big, it might have trouble handling some of these games. I'd recommend dropping your resolution down. Just one tick is all you need. It makes a massive difference.
Yeah. A lot of these developers I've been noticing have these nice graphics cards, and we try to play these mods, like I can't, my system can't handle that.
Definitely.
All right.
Cyberpunk, right? Cyberpunk is the big one.
Yeah.
You do have that 3090. My system can't handle it.
Yeah, dude, like that's what I did with Cyberpunk. The same thing. I dropped the resolution down one tick, and then at first I enabled DLSS, but then I put in the FSR, and it actually works better than the DLSS does. I mean, you're still gonna have, because that game, it's so heavy, you're never gonna get the frame rates in VR with alternate eye rendering you need to get rid of like the ghosting and the shimmering. That's just going to happen. But you don't even notice it after you play a little bit. You don't even see it anymore. And it does really, really help. Okay, next big bullet point. This is a huge one. People have been asking. We did this, I think, our second episode. We did Half-Life 2 VR. And Half-Life 2 VR is going into an open public beta in September. September is just about here, guys. That's really exciting. I can't wait for people to play this. Have you played that at all, Blue Sky, or no?
I haven't. I haven't played much of the new VR mods for like Half-Life and stuff. But I did try them very early on, back when the very first ones came out.
Okay.
And to me, those were pretty impressive because back then, those were like the early stuff. You got to try it out. And I did enjoy that back then. I wonder how much has changed in it now.
A lot has changed. I'm excited for you to try it because it's like playing a native VR game now. I mean, it feels like Half-Life Alyx. It's so good, just perfectly smooth, just beautiful. The big thing about this one, it might not be on Steam. Like, they originally have it set up so you could download it off Steam, but they sent it into Steam over a month ago. I was talking to Wormslayer about this. They sent it into Steam over a month ago, and they're still waiting on it to be approved. They haven't heard a word back from them yet. So he's like, well, if we don't hear back from them, we'll just release it without being on Steam then. So, either way, it's going to be coming out. That's a good thing.
What's great about older games, right? You don't need too much of a powerful system to run them, but they run pretty well.
Oh yeah, that's the great thing about the older games on VR, because you get those really nice, quick frame rates, and they play so well. Yeah. Another thing with the Half-Life 2 release, because I asked Wormslayer, and it's not going to include the new content. There are those of you out there that have the password, so you can download the beta and you can play with the new content. But apparently, there's still some completely game-breaking bugs in that. I've still run into a couple of bugs, like when you're coming in right after you get your gun and you go through that level, you crawl through that little vent and then you jump down to where the train is, and the guy starts throwing barrels at you, and then the train comes through there. Well, that train, it'll just come through and it'll just get stuck on the tracks. And that kind of that's happened to me twice now. And apparently Wormslayer said there's something with like, if there's like a physics item that happens to get set on the tracks, it'll stop the train. So it could be something as much as like a clip from a gun sitting there. So they're trying to work around that one.
Well, someone needs to go through all the tracks and find out if there's a clip.
That's right. Okay.
I wonder what happens if they park the car on the track.
No kidding. Well, you wouldn't die, I guess. The train will just stop.
Yeah.
All right. This is a pretty new announcement, which is exciting. Nexel is an author that's working on a Far Cry 3 mod. So, and he's got 6 Degrees of Freedom. There's a video which you're probably looking at right now because I'm just going to get it off the Twitter. but where he's actually doing like physical crouching and everything. Yeah. So I'm excited. I've never played a Far Cry game. Another game I've never played. So you put it in VR and I will be there. That's exciting to me because they look really fun. And apparently Far Cry 3 is one of the best out of all of them, the way I understand it. So yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Let's see. Oh,
I want to try Far Cry Primal with Depth 3D. Do you know, like, do you have a profile for it?
You know what? Okay, for Far Cry Primal, I believe there is a profile, but it's probably an old profile. Like I said, the shader basically, over time changes, and some of the profiles get left behind, so I have to like go back and update them to see if they work. But if you're lucky, it will just work, right?
Yeah. I'm lucky. When it comes to Depth 3D, I think I'm lucky.
I think you are. I'm not. All right. We were just talking about Elden Ring. There is a way if you're playing Luke Ross, because we're talking about him too. If you're playing the Luke Ross mod and you're having problems with frame rates and that kind of thing, apparently there is a mod. Now it just says on Nexus created by Richard. So it's a mod created by Richard. And what it does is it removes the ERD tree. Is that the big tree in the middle of the map?
Oh, that nice, beautiful golden tree that you can see from across the map.
Yeah, is that what that is?
Yeah.
I don't know the game.
I don't know if you guys want to remove that. It's
that's like
nice
monumental.
Well, yeah, it's like I know, but apparently it like more than doubles the frame rates of the game if you just get rid of that tree, which is crazy.
It's just one.
Maybe you could just replace it. Okay, maybe Richard, if you're listening, just replace it with like a 2D bitmap or something. A PNG.
Yeah.
Aim constraint to the face.
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad idea, by the way.
Really?
In older games, they did do that, right?
Yeah.
It worked.
I don't know if it'd work great in VR though.
Oh, because you can count flat, right?
Yeah.
A plane doing this.
But there's a cool thing about our human visual system, right? At a certain distance, it's mostly the parallax and other stuff that counts, not the stereo.
That's true. So just make it like 3D when you get close enough to it. But otherwise, it's just a GIF. It's a GIF.
Yeah, it's a GIF.
Having low res too in the background.
All right, see, we're solving problems here.
Yeah,
it's homework for Richard.
That's right. Get on that, Richard. Okay.
Probably eating cereal or something.
Yeah.
Don't say my name. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm not really sure how to say this name. It's Comics PL, I guess. But Comics PL is an author working on a Slime Rancher VR mod. For those of you interested in Slime Rancher, I did notice it looks like it has full motion control, so that's really cool. I'm always up for mods that include that. But I know absolutely nothing about Slime Rancher. It looked kind of like a cell phone game to me. I don't.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. I don't know though. I heard Benjo talking about how he couldn't wait to like ranch some slime. So.
Okay.
Do you know anything about Slime Rancher, Blue Sky, or no?
I hope it's a safe for work game, right?
Yeah, you never know. I didn't see anything about tentacles. There is a tentacle VR game, but it's safe for work.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and here's some more news about the war that's going on from people with all the money against little modders. Apparently, EA has announced that it's no longer allowing modders to charge for their mods in The Sims. And apparently, I've never played the Sims games. My son used to play. I know nothing about them. But, I mean, I know it's got a huge following. And apparently, the way I understand it, I mean, there are people that make a really good living modding that game. So, these guys, once again, money bags are like, nope, you can't be making money anywhere near our IP. Yeah. It's like, yeah. It's just nuts. Have you ever had anything like that? Any issues with your Reshade?
No, mainly because I myself try to keep my shaders free, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I actually try to make sure that my shaders are free with small little things that I could probably explain in another time. But Reshade itself is an open platform, and you can, as a developer, right, you can take that and use that as a mod for your game or whatever you're trying to do by using the Reshade the back end, right? And through that, you can do a lot of different modifications that we wouldn't allow generally on our side, right? Because Crosshair, the main developer, have you seen it? Like, we have two versions of Reshade, right? One for add-ons and online gameplay, and one for the general public that's open. But it has been whitelisted by EAC, right? That's the reason why you can actually play with my shader on Elden Ring with EAC games, because we have it whitelisted.
Okay, I was actually going to ask you that question about anti-cheat when you said you were playing online. So it works with that then.
Yeah. My shader is harmless, right, when it comes to playing online. Even in a competitive scene, if you use my shader, you're not going to get the advantage that you will get from a geometric version, right? If you use a geometric 3D version in competitive gameplay, there are advantages. You are going to get a little bit more information on the sides, right, on the corners. Just because your cameras are positioned, if you peek over the right side, one of the cameras is going to allow you to see past the scene, right, past the wall, and the other eye won't, or the camera wouldn't allow you, and that would be a competitive advantage, right? You have to think about that. But with my shader, the way it produces the 3D image, it actually infills that information from the surrounding pixels. So that makes it where even if you do use my shader online, you're not going to get a competitive advantage. It's still going to be blocked, basically. I do render to viewports, or I like virtual viewports with my shader, but they're not going to allow you to cheat, right? So it should be pretty safe when you use my shader. But that's not to say if the developers or the company that owns the game, right, may not like my shader being used, then they can block it, right? That's a completely different issue.
Yeah, I don't understand why they'd be that way. I didn't ever think about that though, because I mean, a lot of times I look at these games that are cross-platform or whatever, and think about, if you could play it in something like Vorpex, but it won't let you in with Vorpex because of easy anti-cheat.
Anti-cheat, yeah.
Vorpex is a little bit more intrusive than Reshade, right?
Yeah.
You can even get
it's injecting completely.
Yeah. That's where my shader doesn't really do that. My shader takes the buffer, the color buffer, the back buffer, and the depth buffer, and uses that to create a 3D image. There are downsides to being using my shader using this method, because it's like kind of hands-off-ish, where it doesn't want to adjust or change anything in the game. There is a major issue that is not my shader's fault nor Reshade's fault. Is that the UI, right? The UI gets blended into the image because We are just copying the black buffer, or the back buffer, and the depth buffer, and we're basically warping the image correctly for each eye, so that you can have a stereoscopic image. There is a way to fix it though. Like we do have the add-on system. Someone could create an add-on, and where it layers the 3D shader behind the UI, right? That way you get the game in stereoscopic 3D, and the UI is untouched.
Oh, that'd be great.
And then you can scale the UI.
You should
HUD?
be able to do. You should be able to scale. You should be able to do all of that actually.
Awesome. Get on that, Vran. I could see the wheels turning.
yeah, because it's like,
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with add-on systems. Flagon, the person that's working on the from DX9 to DX12 add-on for geometric 3D. He's using the Reshade add-on system.
Who is that? Because you kind of like roboted on us there a bit, at least on me.
Ooh, yeah, the sharks, right?
Yeah, the sharks.
the sharks in Hawaii.
Yeah, so Flagon is one of these developers that worked on the Geo11, right? I forget what he did specifically. I think it's a disassembler, I believe. But he's releasing a DirectX 12, 9 through 12, right, API, because Reshade allows for that kind of flexibility for multi-APIs that's the same reason why you can use Depth3D on Vulkan, right, OpenGL, DX11, DX12, DX8 even, just depends on if the game provides a depth buffer, the shader should work, right? Well, that kind of flexibility can be carried over to geometric 3D mods, such as Flagon's. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. That's Flugan. I think it's Flagon, right?
Close enough.
Flugan. Maybe. Flugan, probably Flugan.
I need to. Flugan, reach out. I need this now. like I'm waiting.
If he's not doing it, maybe Richard can get on it.
Yeah,
Richard, get on it.
So we have a lot of these methods, right? We have the alternate frame rendering methods that what's his name? Oh, Luke Ross uses, right? Where you have to run the game at these high frame rates to get a comfortable experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like on the border when it comes to that. Like some games, if you can run them quickly, like the older games, I think that's a great way of producing a stereo image. Because there's little issue with that because you get the high frame rates. But when you start getting into these new games, I think you might as well just take the hit up front and produce a standard output for your Stereo 3D and have a experience you could probably later on, get better hardware and improve it, right? I think that's part of the reason why I like geometric 3D or Geo11 when the shader hackers actually produce a fix for that, then it can produce a very nice, stable 3D image. And I don't know, there's something about the stability that really allows you to enjoy something, right?
Geo11, is that Halifax?
No, so we have multi developers for that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say all their names, but the big one is Bobber.
Okay.
Like I said, Flagon worked with I believe it's a disassembler for that. There is Dark Sword. I think his name is Dark Sword. And there's another developer. These are these guys used to basically live and breathe the 3D kind of modification stuff. I'm sorry if I missed anyone or one of the developers for that. Right? It's a group of people that actually created a pretty neat software because I used to use it back then, and I tried it. Part of the reason why we have Super Depth 3D was because I was dissatisfied with the performance with the older 3D Vision stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the best hardware. I had like a GTX 670. To me, it was really good, right? But when it came to 3D stuff back then, trying to run Fallout 4, That was not happening. That was not happening, right? So I got frustrated. I bought here's the other thing, right? The television right here to my right, the 4K HDR screen, it's a 3D screen, uses frame sequential. That thing made me create the 3D shader, because I couldn't run it on my 670 at 4K with the geometric 3D, and it had issues back then. But now I guess I could run it on that screen with my shader just because of the performance savings that allowed at that time.
Sweet.
Yeah. Nice.
Awesome. All right.
Nice.
Moving on. The next bullet point in the news. This isn't really a flat to VR mod, but it is a VR mod. The Alex has got a new mod called Incursion. I can't remember the name. I can't believe I forgot to write it down. I don't remember who the author is. But apparently it's a very intense, like kind of 1 hour wave shooter, the way I understand it. It sounds like it looks amazing. The trailer for it, I was like, oh my God, that looks like so much fun. It looks like he's done really well with it. I mean, it looks like an actual Valve put together level. So yeah, we're always up for more Alex mods. I love them. They're so much fun. But anyway, did you ever play that one, Vrian, or no?
No.
No, I haven't either.
The new one, no.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I haven't.
Ben did. Of course, Ben did.
Yeah, of course.
All right. And I don't know who the author is of this one either, but apparently Rock Band VR is getting a mod where you can play the game without a controller. So I don't know how that works. It's on GitHub. The link will be in the description. You can check it out.
Using the brainwave thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's doing like the because isn't there a game that's kind of like Guitar Hero where it just uses finger tracking? But but I don't know, that wouldn't be PC VR.
No.
Yeah, I have no idea how that works.
Maybe it's I remember people used to ask me, I need voice or sound recognition. I need to, if there's a song, like say identify the song.
There's a thing on your phone. Yeah.
So there was something that I remember my dad told me, there's this song, and I told him, okay, just hum it to me. So he hummed it, and then I looked, and there's a website that you, by the clicks on the space bar, it can identify songs. It didn't work for the first 15 tries, but I think that the 16th, because you tap on it on the space bar.
So you're tapping the rhythm of the song, or like
you're tapping the rhythm of the song, and it just says, did you mean this? No. Okay, 16. The 16th time, I think I found the song.
That's hilarious.
So maybe that's the mod. You need to do this with the head, and then boom. Just create music. Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought I put that. That's on the Flat to VR Twitter. Yeah, and I saw it in the news, and so we're just putting it out there. And Skyrim. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim lately. VRAN helped me for 3 straight hours getting Wabbajack installed, which is just a nightmare process. But it's so worth it. You do that, you put on the Plank mod afterwards because it's not in Wabbajack for some reason, which is really weird. And man, you have an incredible experience. Yeah, I don't understand that. But
it's funny enough, Blue Sky, you said, like Fallout 4. Literally, this afternoon, I've installed Fallout 4 and modded it. I have 80 mods. Not VR, the Fallout 4. I'm gonna use depth 3D, super depth 3D with it. Just because E and B, you can't do it on Fallout 4 VR. You can do it on Skyrim VR, but for some reason Fallout 4 VR, it doesn't give you the E and B. And I have amazing shaders for that, and it just, one of the mods is a horror mod, and it looks so stunning.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that. It does look really good.
It just looks and it plays so good. So Fallout 4, I hear you.
There is an issue with Reshade when it comes to the heavy mech, right? If you get into the heavy mech, you may lose depth buffer in there. So just be aware of that. You jump out of it, it comes back. But it's just some of those small things in the game, since we're kind of using special heuristics to, I should say, Crossfire uses special heuristics. Actually search and pick out and select the best depth buffer, but sometimes it hits and misses, right? Depending on what's in the scene. That can happen, and I know that happens in Fallout 4, but I didn't use the mech that much in that game, so and plus if you get into it, it kind of turns flat anyway, so
okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
But EMB, I think the developer for that is Boris, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Boris. I was always wondering about like his modifications and stuff, because technically I could make depth 3D for EMB, but I'm not. I didn't want to. Well, I actually do have people that will be able to help me out with that, but I didn't see the need, right, with already having Reshade supporting so many different APIs.
Yes.
And so many different
you can do amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Skyrim mod is a saleable ship mod by Zyher. It's pretty cool. You can go to other world places in the map. It has realistic wind simulation, so I mean, if you don't have any wind, you aren't going anywhere, and you actually have to steer your sails to match the wind. I mean, so that's really cool. It adds like 5 new world spaces, and from what I could see, they're all like seas and oceans. So customizable colors for sails and ships. I love you can have customizable music while you're sailing, so you could just throw in some like rap or something like something real Skyrim like.
Oh boy. Oh no.
So that's pretty cool. All right, we've talked a little bit about this. We're going to talk about it just a little bit more. But because this was in the news, and it was basically just about FSR. So basically what you could do with this mod is pretty much any Steam game. You could just go into your file, you look for an OpenVR API, just change the name of that file, so leave it in there, and then you take this mod with its configuration file, which is just a new VR API, and put it into your folder. And pretty much every game I've used this on, just massive changes, just buttery smooth. The one thing I noticed when I did it with Skyrim was that, and I instantly saw that it does tick your graphics down a little bit. They don't look as good as they did without the FSR. But then what I did is I went into Steam and I bumped up my resolution to 150%. Completely solved that problem.
Because then the compensation happens with the FSR, and it takes it to 150.
Yeah, FSR, which stands for Fidelity FX Super Resolution Upscaling. Nice. And basically what it does is it renders the game at a lower resolution, but then it upscales it to make it look like it's not at that lower resolution. So that way you're like saving a bunch of performance. That's a very, very basic definition. I actually read the actual guts of how this works. I was like, I don't understand any of this. So
I ended up porting it myself, by the way. It's 2 parts, right? It's the upscaler part, and then it's a sharpening component, which is called RCAS. I think it's robust. It's basically a sharpener, right? But there's other things in there that I didn't realize, so actually porting it over, apparently there's a noise component to it as well that you can add to it. And I believe there is, a cool thing that AMD did was if you do port it, they do have a separate shader that makes it easier for developers such as myself to just switch it to a certain shader model, right? Or Vulkan or whatever API you want to use. And if you do support it, you can also port over the faster version of it that uses FP16 instead of like FP32. So like if I do port it to, I already actually have it ported, but if I say I do release it for Reshade, it will have to be FP32, because right now, as it stands, we don't have support for FP16 in many games, and if we want to support many games, we want to do it on the lowest common denominator, basically.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I remember Elliot like over there trying to, I streamed it, showing him a upscaler version and stuff, like it working, right? Except there are issues when it comes to doing something. You can't just simply downscale, or not downscale, but you can't just simply upscale a game from a lower resolution into the proper size without having issues in several different games. Say it can be working with like Dying Light, right? We can get it working. You can play the game at a lower resolution and upscale it. That can work really well. But if you go to a Unity game, it's I guess it's how they design the games, right? Or how the engine works, right? You can still upscale it, but the UI is all broken, right? And trying to fix that, it's not an easy thing for a broad, just for a broad sweep of a bunch of games, right? It's just difficult.
To
do.
Yeah, I've had really, really good luck with FSR so far. It's worked with every game I've put it on, and it's made a big difference. I couldn't believe, it's like we talked about at the beginning, I couldn't believe the difference it made with Final Fantasy VII. It was just like, I put it on, it was just instant. It was so smooth, and I'm like, oh my god.
Well, I watched your video that you actually posted this
today.
Afternoon.
Yeah,
and I watched the no FSR, and it looks a little bit choppy at points, and then you showed FSR, and when the thing shoots at you and it like fire trails, it was like so fast and so smooth. I was like, oh my god, that's a huge difference.
It's a massive difference.
Difference.
You could when you're in VR, I think that's one of the things with FSR. Sometimes it's hard to tell if you're looking just at two screens comparing the two. But when you actually have the headset on, you just feel it. You just feel how much smoother everything is, like instantly. It's crazy. It
almost feels like fast forward, as if everything is fast forward.
I would recommend you try it with every game, because you're not going to hurt anything. If it doesn't work, just delete the config file and change your OpenAI file back to the original one, and you're done.
Days Dedic actually managed to use FSR with Oculus game. He played it with Lone Echo, and it made a huge difference.
Now, did he use this one, or did he use the Oculus?
He used the kit. He used the toolkit.
Okay.
With FSR.
Okay, because there was one that was like that one, and I know that Beardo Benjo had told me that he tried to use that one and didn't have good luck with it, compared to just the Steam one.
The FSR.
Yeah,
the Steam. Well, it worked for Lone Echo for Days Dedic. It works really nice.
Cool. Well, absolutely. Anything to help those games run faster and smoother and look better, I'm all for it. Kirby Mimi, he's the guy that's doing the Breath of the Wild mod, has figured out how to get two separate cams working in the game. And that's really exciting, because that means when we get that for VR, that means that we won't be dealing with alternate eye rendering. It'll be the two camera. I mean, alternate eye rendering is fine, but don't get me wrong, but if I would rather have the two camera, I think all of us would.
It just feels better, right?
And
if you pause, like if you get the two videos and you pause it, in this alternate frame rendering, sometimes you get that disjointment, right? You may not see it, you may not see it when it's flowing in real time, but your brain kind of notices it, right? And it hurts. It actually does. If you play too long on those alternate frame renderings, it starts to hurt, and I think it's that disjointment that's happening, right? Maybe there's a way to if maybe later you could probably use motion interpolation to try to get those in between frames, so it doesn't hurt as much, and maybe alternate frame rendering would be a much more enjoyable experience.
Luke Ross was talking about that, and the fact that some of that is just the fact that you just, especially with these newer games, you just can't get high enough frame rates in the headset. And I know he did some magic with a game I hate to even mention, but it has cowboys. It's from Take-Two.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're to say that much. But I know he worked on pages and pages of code to get rid of just I think just for like the horse's mane or something is what Elliot was talking about. But that game, especially after I got FSR on it and I was in it, I could not believe how much better everything looked and how smooth it ran. And you weren't getting like that kind of ghosty double image on everything. Yeah. It was very, very slight. So there is ways to do it. Luke knows it, but I think he said that he wouldn't wish that on his worst enemy. So.
Oh, you could run FSR now in Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah, that's I got 2.0 actually because there's a mod for it.
I guess you could do FSR in the game and then FSR in the headset, right? So you have FSR on top of FSR. I wonder how that would look.
I don't know.
That's a little weird.
That would be interesting to try. It's like an Inception type thing. That's it. Now when we die in VR, we're gonna die in real life.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Here's a call out. Elliot Tate would put this out there, and he's calling out for modders that would be willing to work on Kingdom Come Deliverance, because apparently. In that game, it already has 6 Degree of Freedom VR support. It's already in there. It just needs some modders to sit down and do the finishing touches and all the other things that you need to do. But so we're putting that out there. All you modders out there looking for something to do. That Elliot, he put that out there. I know nothing about this game. Do you, Brandon?
Oh yeah, I do. I've tried it with Vortex. It works really, really nice. The game looks amazing.
Okay.
It's very historically correct, the game. So you need some patience, and it's slowly built as a game. It looks stunning, like really.
What's
really
it about?
beautiful.
I mean, I hear
History.
Deliverance. I think Banjo's.
It's like a medieval type game.
Okay, cool.
You play this little bloke, and you get missions, and you kind of
look at this guy. He's in the UK for a couple months, and he's saying bloke.
6 months. It's been 6 months. Okay. Like I'm allowed to say bloke because I think that's what they use in the game too. But it's old historical blokes,
chaps,
yeah.
Okay. And for final point on news, so I know this has been a long news segment, but this is actually a correction. Back 2 shows ago when Beardo Benjo was on, VRAN and I both said that Deep Rock Galactic had physical pickaxes because it seemed like we were doing that when we were in the game. It didn't. It did not have it.
It didn't.
But
now
good news is it does now. So, but that I personally feel like that is just a testament to how immersive being in VR, sitting down with a gamepad can be, because I could have swore I was physically using a pickaxe, but I wasn't.
Yep. I agree 100%. 100%. I honestly felt like it was there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where do you stand on that, Blue Sky? Do you like gamepad or motion control? Do you hate gamepad?
Okay, so I got this cheap gamepad here, right? I want basically if I'm doing VR, I would use if the game is made for it, I'll use a gamepad, right? But if the game has full motion controllers, I'd rather just use the motion controllers, right? Because they're more intuitive.
Yeah.
The gamepad, because for a gamepad, to me, I had to remember more because all the buttons on it, right, to do it, and all the joysticks. But when you're separate in each hand, and they seem kind of natural to me when you use that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think any of us, if you had the option between gamepad or motion control, we'd take motion control, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's just we've had this discussion before. There's some people, there's like, if it's gamepad, it's not VR, and I don't want anything to do with it.
Not VR.
Yeah. It's like, I have enjoyed
To be fair, to be fair, when I started with Vorpex the first week, I was against immersive screen, no matter what you told me, because I felt like I'm not in VR because it's a screen in front of me.
Mm.
Take me away from a screen now, I will not talk to you. Like that's why I do Reshade with the super.
Yeah.
Like the scale. What matters to me is the scale, the 3D depth, the fact that everything around me, I'm not in the room anymore. So, I think it's I don't know. Maybe it's when you start with VR and how far you've been into VR until you're like, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance. Maybe it's just the early stages. It's like, I paid so much money, and if I'm not using these,
Yeah, I used to be that way. I was totally anti gamepad games. I was like, why would I want to do that? That's not VR. I was in that camp, and then I played Resident Evil 7 in VR on the PlayStation 4. So and I was like, holy cow! I was like, this is actually great. I'm loving this. And then I played Alien Isolation, and then I played Outlast and Outlast 2.
Exactly.
And I'm like, now in Outlast 2, I used immersive screen. And before I didn't want to do that, but it did something about it. I didn't like it in the VR part of Vorpex. It just didn't feel right. But immersive screen, the graphics were so pretty, and you get that thing big enough with the ambience around it.
Yes. And you don't even notice the screen.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep, I agree. All right, so that's it on our news. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk to BlueSkyDefender a little bit about 3D depth Reshade, and let's start our interview out here. First of all, and this is one of my questions, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you actually do for like your real job and all that kind of stuff, and where you at and fun things like that.
I'm not allowed to talk about my job, but
okay, all right.
It's all right. It's all right.
You're in
it's
Honolulu.
Right.
It's probably military, huh? Is it military? No. Is it deep state? Are you deep state? Are you Richard?
Right now, one of his alts, right? Right now, I'm on the island of Hawaii, and I live in a little city called Kaloa. You guys may know Kaloa because if you go to a bar, you get the Kaloa punch rum that comes from here. Like if you take a flight using Hawaiian Airlines, I'm not saying you should go use Hawaiian Airlines, right? But if you do take a flight on Hawaiian Airlines, they'll actually, if you fly to this island, they'll give you a sample of the Hawaiian punch rum. Of course, you have to be of age, right, to get that. But yeah, it's a pretty chill island. This island has a lot of lizards. Ooh, there's a lot of lizards.
Sharks. You have sharks.
Yeah, sharks around the island. Ooh, yeah. Sometimes people get unalived because of that, right? Yeah, that's
Jaws ruined me for life. I don't go in the ocean. No way.
People forget, right? When you go into the ocean, you're not the biggest fish, right, anymore. There are bigger fishes out there, right?
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, but the ocean's beautiful here. I go with my dad sometimes to a little beach called I think it's Baby Beach or something like that. It's a nice little cove there. And you can see all the little tiny sea creatures because there's a lot of those rocks, the volcanic rocks here.
Yeah.
And they like to hide in between them. And those little crabs though, right? I never, when I lived on the mainland, I never seen crabs, right? I thought they're kind of slow and they don't move around. No, those things just dart across the sand.
Wow.
They're really fast.
That's
maybe I should take
kind of creepy.
Yeah. Man, they make like little holes and like near the walls and rocks and stuff, and then they go into that. They're scared of people, so they just start across really quickly as fast as they can.
Well, like you can't blame them. I mean, we do kind of eat them.
Why you so tasty, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. So, can you tell me what exactly is Reshade? Like, I know you do the 3D depth thing, but what is Reshade exactly?
Reshade to me is a lot of things. But the main thing, it allows people like developers, shader developers like me, to create shaders. Is an injector that allows us to inject into the game, use the depth buffer, use the back buffer to modify the image in real time. And this can not just it's not just for like 3D, right? For my shader, but it's like for the big one would be RTGI. You know, Marty. He produces a global illumination shader with AO that allows you to have uh, more realistic lighting inside the game. It's still limited by screen space right now, but it doesn't mean it's not, real ray tracing. It's still tracing rays, right? Um, and it's not just that. It's other shaders like bloom. You have different type of bloom effects that can and will enhance the image depending to your liking, right? There are many different effects. There's even anti-aliasing shaders, right? If the game doesn't quite have an anti-aliasing shader or anti-aliasing method that you're not too happy with, you could use one from Reshade to try to enhance those jagged edges, right? There are
Yeah.
many things you can do with just the back buffer and just the depth buffer. If you're skilled enough, you can create pretty unique shaders, right? You could,
Yeah.
and even basic shaders. If you are interested in making shaders and Reshade, uh, look at what we have, look at the catalog we have, get ideas. Don't try to plagiarize, right? Don't steal stuff, but learn from the shaders we have there. Tinker with them, modify them. Like open up a shader, modify them, change them, break them, right? This is how you learn. Um, don't be afraid to do or make mistakes, right? Try something new. Uh, just look up like try it with a simple shader like the sharpening shaders. That's something you can get a output pretty quickly, and they should be pretty simple to modify. We have other shader developers that do produce or trying to produce a how-to or tutorial or guides, right? I have a friend, Grimson, another shader developer. Um, he has small shader guides that you can follow to create a basic shader that you can use in Reshade, right? Um, it's like I said, it's many things to a lot of people. It could be a way to enhance your gameplay that you have now, the visuals. It can be something you can do artistically because we have virtual photographers that use it that do amazing things with pictures and with Reshade. Sometimes it's a little joke between me and my friends. Sometimes, they could have just used Photoshop, right? But instead, we have these like these videos of people using all kinds of different shaders with different layers and stuff, and to produce these beautiful pictures without using Photoshop. So I guess to them it's Photoshop Plus, right?
Yeah.
Real time
Probably.
Photoshop Plus. Yeah. So yeah, that's
I
it's that's a lot of things to a lot of people.
It is. The first time I used Reshade, I was afraid at first to install it, but
Hmm.
I installed Skyrim VR the first time, uh, and then I checked on Nexus, and it was like, oh, and I saw because the mods that work for Special Edition would work on Skyrim VR as well, most of them, and I saw like shaders and Reshade, and the visuals looked so good. So I tried to install it on Skyrim VR. It looked like it installed it, and then on the screen it looked amazing, but in the headset it didn't really transfer to the headset.
Hmm.
So I wonder why. Like, is it? I know it's post process, right? It's just
Yeah.
it happens just a second before it gets to the screen. It's like in my field, in my
Hmm.
career, post process or is like when you do the edit and then you do the coloring
Yeah.
and then boom, you send it. So I'm guessing that that's what it is. It's like right before you hit send, there's a
Hmm.
post process, and then the final product is available. So is there like a layer that goes to the headset that is not? It's before the post process,
So right
and then
now, if you're doing like VR, right? If you want to use Reshade on VR, right now it only, from my understanding, only supports the Steam VR or the Steam API, right? And you could use Reshade. I think it was developed between Crosshair and some other person. I forgot the name. Sorry, it's a lot of people to remember, right?
There's a lot of people.
Yeah, and you could use you on VR games, right? Specifically, you can use Reshade on VR games, but you have to make sure you inject it in the right location, right? And so that it outputs properly.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was like years ago. So
Yeah.
from then I was like, you know what? I'll have Skyrim VR. I also have Skyrim. I can just do it on because I saw it on the screen and then I look and it doesn't look the same. I changed the shaders. It looks great. I look in the headset. It looks the same as it looks in Skyrim VR.
Yeah.
So I didn't think then that it's just like the location is wrong.
Yeah.
Now that I know more about shaders.
Yeah, I put that ultra enhanced reshade on Cyberpunk and it made a massive difference.
Huge.
I couldn't believe how just getting in there, how rich everything felt, how the colors just popped and
amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It blew our minds when you streamed it with the shader.
Yeah, it's totally different. That's one of the things I love about all these mods, man, is you could just keep changing your game experience. And you play for a long time, and all of a sudden, oh, look, it's almost like a brand new game because it looks different or it's doing this different.
Exactly. And you expect it to hit your performance, and it really doesn't.
No, I didn't notice any performance difference after that.
Just so fun, so much fun.
Yeah.
It's usually the more advanced shaders that use a depth buffer that may that have a higher hit on the performance, right? They're doing more advanced calculations, and the GPU has to account for that.
Yeah, something has to give.
So,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna ask. So, is 3D depth the only thing that you've done in Reshade?
No, I have another. Okay, so the depth 3D actually had to separate them. So I used to have a bunch of other shaders, right? So I also do global illumination with Radiant GI. It's not as heavy as RTGI, but I'm also not doing AO. It does other things. It does subsurface scattering, like for faces and skin.
Nice.
But there's difficulties when doing it just through the image alone, right? So with Radiant GI, it uses a different form of global illumination. It's not really ray tracing. It's more like it's like point casting, more like that. So they are technically rays, but I'm not tracing them, right? I am modifying them in R.E.A.L, and so you get a proper image produced from its general lighting, or what's lighting from the image itself. So you get like that secondary light effect. I use it, right, because it's more performant, but it needs to be updated. I haven't had time to update it. It uses the same system as my depth 3D shader for the depth buffer, so most of the time you don't have to adjust it, right, or like you do with RTGI. But since I have made new profiles and I haven't backported them to that shader, you kind of, for newer games, you kind of have to set it yourself, right? I don't just do GI, I also do AO. Well, you can say they're part of the same family, but I also do sharpening shaders, I also do bloom type shaders, I also do other sub shaders, even fun ones that are hidden, right? If you guys can find it, I do a snow shader where you can add snow to your game. It's not something like I openly announce, but it's something that's hidden, right? It's if you go into the Strafe folder, there is a one-shot folder, and there's two shaders in there. One of them is called Snowscape, and the other one is a parody shader. It's called I think Limbo Mod. The reason why I made the Limbo Mod is because sometimes you get these news articles. They're ridiculous, where someone uses a depth buffer in the game, and then they run with it, saying that, oh, this is a limbo mod from such and such a person, but it's really just a linearized depth buffer, right? And they're just putting that on the screen, and there's no real work to it, right? And it's not just that. There's like I said, there's a lot of shaders. I have AA shaders, right? I still need to update those. I know after working with Depth 3D, I know how to improve the other shaders, right? I learn new stuff, and then that can be moved over to the other stuff.
It always works that way.
Yeah,
your work is never finished.
No.
Yeah.
I kind of. There is one thing I really wish the other developers did when it comes to VR or geometric 3D or whatever. I really wish that having a stereoscopic output as something that's default in a game, like in Shadow of the Tomb Raider or in most of the trying games, right? They had stereo output. I really wish that was a basic option for all games, because that would have made work for a lot of our VR developers, even myself, a lot less work having to support games, because we already have a output there. Just use that to modify it however we want. I really wish that was the timeline that should have been, right? And the 3D stuff didn't become popular, right? And that kind of got pushed away. If we had that, we would have had a much easier time and much more games to play in a nice, convenient package, right? Oof, that was... I wish that happened. I guess a lot of us would have wished that happened.
Might see more of that with the PSVR 2, because it sounds like Sony, they're really going to be pushing developers, at least the way they were the way the news was going there for a while. They really want to push developers to get their games on the PSVR as well. So they're talking about like the hybrid type games. So, and if they're doing that for the PlayStation, you would think the PC versions would maybe have it too. Maybe, I don't know.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be awesome.
But AO is one of... Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe we can push that sentiment, right? Maybe that's something we should push for developers to at least make a basic version, like not VR, right? Mm-hmm. Just to have a stereoscopic output, right? It doesn't need a lot of settings to it. It just needs to be semi-proper stereo. It doesn't even have to be perfect, because we'll end up fixing it anyways, right? as a community, right? It's just that if we have it there, we don't have to work as hard to actually fix it, right?
Yeah.
But your AO shader, I don't know if I used your AO shader, but I don't know if you know what AO is.
I have no idea.
Greg.
Nope.
Ambient occlusion.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's like that, the touch, like the touch shadows. Mm-hmm. You know how I know that Fallout 4 is like that? The indoors, outside, it looks good, but indoors everything looks flat because there's no touch shadows. There's no blacks when two surfaces are touching each other, and that's why I use ENBs on Skyrim VR, and that's why in Fallout 4 with shaders, all that touch shadows, it just grounds everything. It just makes everything looks just 3D.
The EMB didn't work for me in Skyrim. Well, it did, but...
some stuff...
No, what happened to me when I put it on is it hit performance enough that it kind of negated the FSR that I put on. I was like, I don't need this EMB. No, I like the performance.
Something was off with yours. I think it was the specific ENB that was relying on weather mod that you didn't have, so it was kind of like...
Oh, okay.
Lighting, and then it hurt. But it's like we complete each other by the fact that Greg loves the performance to be spot on. He does it. You do appreciate visuals. Mm-hmm. For me, it's the visuals. Like it's like 99% visuals, and then performance. I can go with amazing performance and a little bit less. I just want to be immersed visually. I'm more visual person, so I need that touch shadow. I need that AO. I need that subsurface. That if a light hits a leaf, I want to see the color that changes. That the leaf. I'm more visual. That's why I'm on Reshade and
when I sit down to play VR, if it's just me, if it's not like streaming, I mean 4 hours is probably a pretty common session. That's one of my short sessions. So performance is really important because, you try to do those long sessions and your performance isn't quite up to snuff. Your eyes really start to strain. I start getting a headache. So yeah, I mean, I could deal with a little hit in the graphics if the thing is running really fast.
Yeah.
Look, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how exactly how do you take this flat image from a game and turn it into a 3D image? To me, that's just like witchcraft.
Crazy. The way it's done is actually quite simple. It's it's not simple, but it's simple to explain.
Sure, easy.
Easy. So you guys know about the effect called parallax occlusion mapping, POM, right? Where you get these bricks in certain games. I get the brick example because that's the one I see the most. Where they have a flat wall, there's no geometry to it, right? And you basically have you have the brick texture itself, and then you have a texture that's used for calculating depth, right? And basically what parallax occlusion mapping allows you to do is to warp the image there to seem like it has depth, right? It basically like in layers, it depends on the type of occlusion mapping, but in mine it will be layers, right? It'll be like many different layers being cut out and then merged together to produce a something that has depth. So if you're in a brick wall, so if you have a brick wall, not in the brick wall, not like the mob, right? if it's a brick wall, you want the grout to be sunken in a little bit, right? And you want the brick itself to come out a little bit. You can do that with a proper I forget the exact name for it, but pretend it's like a height map. Yeah, use the height map to tell the shader what's supposed to be coming out and what's supposed to be sinking in, right? And same thing happens, but with my shader, right? My shader, instead of using a height map that's provided for the effect, I'm using the depth buffer itself. And instead of pushing it in through the projection that way, I'm doing it per eye. So it diverges per eye. So when you are looking at it, it's using the game's own depth buffer to basically slice it in many different layers and push it out in a very specific pattern that we use in real life to view anything around us, basically. So it's taking a very simple concept and just using a very simple shader and building a skeleton or a network around that to basically produce a stereo 3D image. One thing I do have to remember, the basic equation for producing that divergence, right? It's called Taylor's theorem, I guess. It's basically a triangle, and I forget how I know the equation, but I forget the explanation for it specifically. But it is called Taylor's theorem. If you look that up, you can see it's a simple math equation that I use, but it also coincides on how we see in the world.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember it from school.
Yeah, it's that. Remember school? I remember math in school? Yeah. That was fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I got a C in college algebra, and I took that and I framed it and I hung it on the wall. So it's like, that's the only math class I have to take. I am out.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, interesting thing. I failed math. I failed geometry 2. Not geometry. Algebra 2. I did well in geometry and I was really bad when it came to math. It doesn't mean, I still program shaders, right? I work a lot with math and logic, right? But even if you weren't that good in math, that's what I'm trying to say, in the math type of in school and all these equations you have to remember, so don't worry about that. If you go and program shaders yourself, just mess around with the code. Play with it. Don't view it as a like school, right? Don't view it like that. View it like something you want to play with, like a toy, and look at these numbers and just mess around with them. See what happens. Try something. Just have fun. Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think it's that there's a difference between math for math's sake in school, and then math that you're actually applying to something. Because I sucked at math in school, and when I got into college, I got into chemistry and physics, which is nothing but math, and a lot more advanced than I was used to. I was getting straight A's. I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I could sit down and do like 4 pages of equations and get the right answer. And this is fun.
No, not for me.
So,
no.
Yeah.
If you have a passion for it, it's real fun.
Yeah. If you do, it blocks me. I feel like I have
get that
black frame in front of me.
I get that with like regular math. You start asking me to try to do like some easy money math at the front desk, and my brain just goes. It's like I can't. Like I don't know how to do this. Let me get my calculator.
Yeah, kind of like that scene from The Office where that one guy can only do math if it involves pies. Man, that was good.
So, are you working on like anything? Have you ever thought of doing anything like a Vorpex style driver, where it's more all inclusive, or?
I have so I have friends that work with this kind of stuff. I would be able. I need to word this very specifically. So we can, with the Reshade add-on system, we can make like Flag. Remember I spoke about Flagon. We can make our own geometric 3D shaders, right? Not shaders, but add-on. And I did work with a friend so that we are able to produce a geometric 3D output from again using alternate frame rendering. That's part of the reason why I'm not too happy about it, right? We're trying to figure out ways to solve that issue, but if I do produce with my friend, if we do produce a geometric 3D add-on, it will be very similar to Depth 3D. It will, in fact, so similar, in fact, that the layout will almost look the same when if you do use that add-on, right? But there's neat things to that, and some of the things is that the way we're doing it with my friend is that we wouldn't need to fix shaders. You wouldn't need to. We wouldn't need to fix a lot of things because we would be injecting into the game and doing the offsets in real time, right? But like I said, it's alternate frame rendering, and I just didn't like the feel of it, right? You have to have this high frame rate. You have to have the syncing, right? You have to also sync it. It's not just spit out the frame rate. You have to have proper syncing so that each eye gets the proper image, right? I want to work on that, but it seems like right now we hit a roadblock, and it is alternate frame rendering. It's that specifically. If we figure out a way, or someone else figures out a way in the community to do it without alternate frame rendering and not lose that much performance, because even doing the regular way, right? You do have the 2 serial cameras, but you lose a lot of performance there too, right? I'm trying to find the in-between alternate frame rendering and the traditional method of producing the 2 serial cameras. And it's hard, basically, to find something. That's why you don't really see people doing it, right? You only have a very small subset of the community that's able to even do something like this. But if I do release something with my friend, it would be very similar to Depth 3D, except it wouldn't be reconstructed. It would be basically a geometric 3D method.
Ooh, that'd be sweet.
So, yeah, but it's not easy. It's difficult.
Call up Richard.
Well,
Richard is going to be like a running joke through the rest of the show.
Yeah, Richard has a method that he's not sharing.
We should call it season 1 Richard. Richie.
The season of Richard.
Oh, that's just rich, right?
We had talked a little bit about this earlier. I'm about done, and then Bran can ask his question. Sorry, Bran. I just figured it's easier just to do it this way.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. But do you have, or are you working on? Because all right. So my story with Reshade, or with 3D depth, I tried to use it. I was working with Bran, and I was using it for Days Gone.
Yeah.
And I had a real tough time, like, getting rid of that kind of weird blurry halo that went off the side of a character. And then I did something, I can't remember what I did, but I got rid of it. But then when I did, I couldn't even tell if it was actually really 3D. I mean, it still looked really nice, but I'm like, I don't know if it's 3D or not. So my question at the time was like, do you have like pre-made profiles for specific games that people could just use, or are you working on those, or?
Yeah. So every month, right? It's silent, right? So I have a silent system in the shader. So if you're playing Days Gone, I recommend you download the shader again, reset all your settings, and there should be a profile now for that game. Okay, so let's talk about the halo and why it's there, right?
Okay.
That's one of the so you gain the advantages of performance. You gain the advantages of basically game one, day one. Stereo 3D, you get the advantages of like speed, basically, right? Using my shader. But there is that drawback, right? The drawback is a halo. Where does it come from, right? Why does it happen, right? It's simple. When I am warping the image for the left and right eye, there is going to be something that's not seen there. It's missing information. This missing information has to be masked or infilled in such a fashion where it shouldn't cause the user too much, I want to say it's not discomfort, but it's like you see it, right?
Yeah.
Our brain is made to look at patterns, and if it can see a pattern, it recognizes it. It will actually, you will focus on it. But here's the good thing about the brain too, right? Is malleability. It's flexible. So if you keep using the shader, eventually the brain will start masking it out itself. It will start understanding that, oh, hey, this is a stereo image. I enjoy this, and it will start to sort of like, there's probably a proper term for this, but it does basically blend it out a little bit, right? It's still going to be there, but it takes time to get used to. Here's the thing, right? The shader also has methods to negate and reduce that halo itself. The point I'm trying to make is that in the end, the shader, your brain, and the magic that I do inside the shader has to be adjusted. Not the brain part, though. Hopefully I don't want to do that. So there's always going to be a halo. The goal is to reduce it to the point where it's not discomfort, where you don't see it as much, right? So when you use my profiles, I actually do recommend different settings than the profile has. The profile is supposed to be a base profile for the user. User can then adjust it to their comfort level, basically, right? But there's so many settings.
There's so many things. I know. It's like, well, I don't know what these are.
Yeah. That's the biggest issue, right? So, okay, I don't know if I can show this, but I don't know how you guys show stuff, but I'm gonna send you in the I think the Cast VR thing channel. Mm-hmm. I can post it in general, right? I'm going to post a picture of settings of the Depth 3D shader, and I'll just run through them really quickly with you for the major settings. I tried, even though it was difficult, I still tried to have like a pattern to this that should be. I was hoping that was easy to understand, but I realized it's not easy. It's a lot. You have everything from divergence to convergence at the very top. occlusion masking, compatibility options, depth map, weapon hand adjustment, stereoscopic options, FPS focus, cursor adjustments, and a bunch of other preprocessor definitions that are below, right? There are many.
Yeah.
But the main things we want to focus on are, well, if a game already has a profile, the main thing you want to focus on is the occlusion masking area and the divergence slider, not shader, the divergence slider at the top.
Yeah.
Divergence is the way the shader increases the amount of depth you can have in the image. Right now, this is set to 100. That's for me, it's fine, right? But for maybe you or other users that get eye strain, you don't want to set it that high. You want to set it to around 50. Most of the time, I play at 75, right? That's something that's comfortable to me.
Yeah.
That will have an overall effect of reducing halos. It'll still be a 3D image, but with reduced halos.
Okay.
The other things, you got the occlusion masking, which you have the view modes. View mode 0 through 5 are available in this shader, and the other shader I have the VR shader. Try different view modes. One output, like the normal output, may not be the one for this game, right? It may be too harsh, there may be too many issues with it. You may not like it, right? Try a different view mode like alpha, reliteration, mix. Mix is a pretty popular one that people like to use.
Mix,
yeah, adaptive and whatever's there, the stamped. The view mode basically is how the occlusion is. Not the occlusion. How the infilling is done. How is it produced? That's what view mode is. The second option right there is halo reduction. Halo reduction doesn't work with normal mode, but it works with almost all the other ones except normal and stamped. I do recommend using halo reduction because that does reduce the halo around the characters in a way of like tucking it in a little bit around like stuff and around the objects and stuff. It'll tuck in the background a little bit, and that's usually much more smoother now. I think I have it default to 3. 3 seems to be fine. Sometimes it's too strong for a game where it starts tucking in too much, or lowering it a little bit may help in that case. But 3 seems to be a good even number across many games. Lowering it if it's too hard, if it's too strong, raising it. Edge handling, that's basically the edges. You notice how with my 3D output, it has black bars on the side. Where does that come from, right? Or in the center, where does the why does it have black bars? The same reason why there's halos in the first place is that there's missing information, right? You can't just produce. Well, I guess when we get more advanced with AI and stuff, because the AI is pretty good at infilling stuff. Maybe in the future, I can produce the 3D image and just have AI infill it. That may be pretty heavy for us now, but that would be something to fix the halos, because that would be much better than just basic infilling. The other thing is edge reduction. You can just leave that alone at 0.5 or 50%. All it does is reduce the edges, the amount of information for the black bar. It's not big. Before it used to get really big, and this just halves it. The max depth, you don't really need to touch that unless there's certain games like 2D games that are flat, right? And where you want to limit the background so it comes in forward, because you don't need that much distance in a game. And final one is a pretty important one that people do not use. If you're having performance issues in the game, and you're using my shader, the shader hit is around 15%, right? From max FPS, around 15% on average. You can actually reduce that hit using performance mode, which is separate from the Reshade's performance mode. Using normal is the full fat infilling, right? It uses as much samples as it can to mask out the missing information. Then there's performant mode, and performant mode is basically uses half the amount of samples, and that should produce a you shouldn't see it, but that should help out with your FPS.
Yeah.
And there's 2 new modes, which is performant with foveated rendering and normal with foveated rendering. So it will also help with performance if you use those.
Okay.
So it's like a tier, right? So we have no performant, which is supposed to be the lower form or not as many samples. We have normal, which is the full fat. Use as much as you can. Foveated rendering for both of those will get you down a little bit, lower on the amount of resources the shader uses. And last, but people avoid this. The last thing is the actual Reshade performance mode. If you use that in combination with performance mode that's built into, it's kind of confusing, right? But I wanted to name it the same so that people can, realize that you can adjust the performance of the shader. Enable performance mode in Reshade and enable the performance options inside of the shader should produce a much more stable and much more, smoother image or smoother gameplay.
Awesome.
But if you have the hardware right, you can just leave it at normal.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I wanted to ask what the difference between Geometry 3D, Z3D, just for people who don't know, and Depth 3D. But it's pretty much, it's been covered. We know that Blue Crosses or the actual VR mods, where they're putting us in the engine. So you don't need to produce an image out of what you have, or you don't need to produce 3D out of an image. You are basically a camera in the engine. So it's a huge difference between Reshade. But I want to kind of ask you something about what I know that is going on with Vortex is that sometimes even if we play immersive screen, which is pretty much similar to Depth 3D, we still can have head tracking, which is great. I know that I tried doing. I've played a bunch of games with OpenTrack and your shader, but there's something that is annoying to me that the right stick would basically compete with my head movement, and then things will just stop, or I will not be able to move properly.
There is a way to fix that.
Okay, so please educate us.
It's not going to be an easy way to do it. But it's not going to be easy for the regular user. But you know what? With the add-on system, I guess in the future, if I do have time, that's why I asked before in the VR chat if that's something that people want. But I didn't get really a response, so I didn't think it was something people really wanted. Was if we have an add-on that takes over the camera to allow you to move your head so you can peek around stuff, would that be something that's wanted, right?
Yeah.
When I asked in the VR chat, I got crickets.
Yeah.
So yeah, that can be done in a semi-generic way. I'll have to talk to my friend, see if he wants to help me out with that.
My God, you would be.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
And does that mean also roll offset, head roll offset? So that if I do this,
yeah, that should be possible. It just depends because okay, so basic way I understand this is that we have to find the camera in memory, right? And then we grab the camera in memory, and then we override the movements for basically we'll take the free cam. It's like making a free cam mod, but making it constrained where it works with the VR headsets, gyro, and the positioning stuff. There has to be a layer.
Or no?
We'll ask Richard. Richard, get on that.
But yeah,
give us the free cam, Richard. Go ahead.
That is a very real possibility, and I think that's actually something that would be useful. Even even without 3D, even without my shader, even without geometric 3D. There is something that we're missing in the basically those conversions, right? We don't really think about it, but motion parallax is a very important cue to 3D depth in real life. Move your head left and right. You can see the parallax between. You can close one eye, move your head left and right, and you can still see that it has depth, right? Our brain will produce that depth. It's missing through. If we have in my shader, that when you move your head left and right, the image kind of warps, right? It's because we're missing that motion parallax component to it. That's what when you go in 3D movies, right? you move your head left and right, you're missing that motion parallax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The important thing to know is that it can be added to games even without VR. It can be added to games even without like Reshade. And in fact, I realized that if done correctly, it can be done in real time. Difficulty with that is figuring out where the pivot point should be. So the pivot point is the point of where the parallax happens, right? So you have the background and the foreground, like set and layered. You want it, like if you move your head left or right, you want the scene to kind of move towards that direction based on the pivot point in the center. So say you have your character in the center of the scene, your guy in the center or gal, or whatever you guys want to go with. You want to basically pivot on that point when you move your head, and that will give you that extra information just by moving your head left and right. Very important in VR. You need this in VR. If you don't, it's a byproduct of moving to the camera, right? That's what you get.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. But when you have like the convergence that I'm talking about, that my Super Depth 3D does, or Geo11, or whatever you use, Presario, whatever the old one was, or even Vortex, you kind of want to add that back, right? With that will be a definite experience enhancer no matter what you do. Even if you don't have a VR headset, even if you don't have like stereoscopic hardware, if you get that motion parallax, it can enhance your gameplay and basically in anything you play.
Yeah,
they do that
it's
with
like
those
the Facebook 3D image.
Yeah. They do that with those.
It's
those
the same idea.
Displays too, right? The 3D displays they have now. I think they require a camera, but you look. I'm looking at people looking at it. I was like, holy crap! I mean, it really looks 3D, and it's just a screen.
Well,
that's his monitor behind him.
Yeah.
How important is this basically? That small effect that we don't think about it, we don't consciously think about it, but it's a very important component to stereo 3D.
Yeah.
Cool.
And of course, it can be done with the shader as well. In fact, I've been procrastinating, but I'm going to be releasing the shader sometime soon that focuses on motion parallax alone. So people that don't have VR, right, and don't have, or even just has one eye, basically, can still have that stereo effect when they move their head around.
Cool.
I want to be able to produce that. Yes, because remember, we have people with disabilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have people that can't view a stereo image in the normal fashion, and I want to be able to allow them to at least have some stereoscopic effect that they can view themselves, right? And of course, I'm going to try to release that for free. But if you do get the headset moving, or the add-on for the movement, that would be much easier to do, and I could do that with the real camera in the game. But since I can't really do that right now, the way I'm going to do it is using the same method I use for Super Depth 3D. But you remember how I told you we warp it to one direction or left and right for each eye? Well, I don't have to worry about that when it comes to monoscopic rendering, right? I'll just warp it opposite to the direction that your head moves. So instead of if you move your head upright, it'll be this way. It's just basically opposite to how your head moves, and it will produce an image that looks like stereo 3D to people that have basically moonlight. It's not exact stereo 3D, but there is a sense of depth to it.
That's awesome. Oh, and
nice.
That brings me. Now I know what my brain farted on too. I noticed when I used FSR, because you were talking about foveated rendering. When you use FSR, if you really pay attention, you could see in Skyrim that there's a sphere and you could tell that it's
a circle.
It's like a circle that you're looking through, and you can tell that everything is a lot sharper in that circle if you're really paying attention. If you once you're in the game, you don't even see it, but if you're really paying attention, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, foveated rendering. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very simple. To have proper foveated rendering, I do believe you need to have eye tracking.
Eye tracking, so that's why I was wondering.
Wherever you look, it will be sharp, right? Except if you don't have eye tracking and use foveated rendering, it's going to be sharp towards the center. But if you look to the corners, you notice that it's a lower resolution, right? Yeah. So the way it's done in my shader internally is that you still have that area of high quality in the center, and towards the outside edges, it reduces the samples. So I don't reduce the resolution. I reduce the samples as you head towards the edges to the screen.
Okay.
Like top and bottom, left and right. So that's how I did the foveated rendering inside of the shader. As a shader developer, you can do more than just foveated rendering internally. You can do methods like variable rate shading based on luminance, but you have to have full control of the shader to be able to do this kind of stuff, right? The reason why I don't have variable rate shading is that I wasn't happy with the output. It caused too much of degradation of the output for the Stereo 3D that I wasn't comfortable with. So I removed it. I did have it at one point, but I removed it. Maybe I'll come back to see if it's still viable now. Once I have much better control over the shader than I did before.
Cool. Yeah, because I was wondering about that. I was like, if you don't have eye tracking, so that's just it's the same thing basically that I was seeing. So that's awesome.
Oh, we're gonna have headsets with eye tracking pretty soon, though.
Yeah, I know. That's gonna be great. How much of a do you save performance wise when you use that?
Foveated rendering?
Yeah.
Okay, so say I'm at the 4K scene, and the game is running around like 4 ms, right? It's heavy. I mean, not 4 ms. The shader's running at 4 ms. You enable performance mode, it'll drop down to like 2.5 around there, and then you enable foveated rendering on top of that, and it'll drop it down to 1.7, and then you enable performance mode, it'll be 1.5, right? So there is a performance a scale, I would say. Mm-hmm. But you could keep normal mode, because I have normal foveated rendering, and it'll drop it from 4 to 3, around there, 2.93, and then use performance mode from Reshade, and it'll drop it down further. And you can still get a pretty good quality out of the image using foveated rendering. It
awesome.
Just depends per game, right? Some games may not work very well with it. Other games may work great with it. I think the Spider-Man game should work pretty well with it as well. But I don't. It seems to run pretty well, even with the normal. Nice. But I am on a 2080 Ti, so if you are running into performance issues, I remember use performance modes. Use one of the performance modes and see what works best for you.
Nice.
Awesome. You have any more questions, Brian?
No, you really. The head tracking was one of the main ones.
Well, and I had that one written down. I'm glad you asked it. We always do this. I just write down the questions and tell Brandon, and then I ask questions. He's like, "No, you've asked all my questions."
You know, just before you jumped in, Blue Sky, we were like, "Okay, this is what I wrote," and I'm saying, "What exactly is depth staging?" He was like, "Oh my shit, I just had the same one. What's the difference between G's and all that? I have the same one." You know, all those questions. While we were talking, Blue Sky, you also
he answered a lot of them.
Voluntarily answered before we even asked. So.
Yeah, they're all interconnected, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, you guys are going to have some fun in the coming years, because we're going to have new hardware, right?
Oh yeah.
Hardware I can't talk about. Hardware that I can talk about. But some things are actually really exciting to me. The AR glasses are something that I really do want to be something for. I remember I was talking with VR. It's VR-Ran, right? How do I say your name?
VRAN.
VRAN, yeah. I was talking with VRAN on chat about these glasses, right?
Yeah.
About these AR glasses, and I personally think that for I don't think I call them the normal people, right? That don't use VR, right? And the reason why I say the normal people, because they are the majority right now. They're not fully interested in VR. They may have issues with it, with like the headset gets too hot, it's too heavy.
They get sick.
Yeah, they get sick, or if you have dry eye or something, right? I think the upcoming technology for the AR glasses will allow them to have a much more comfortable experience, and maybe we can bring them over to VR later if we have once the VR headsets start becoming very thin glasses, like, right, where you just put that on, it'll be much more comfortable experience. I'm really hoping that one way you can push the greater public or the general public is to try to have more of the introduction to these AR glasses that are coming out pretty soon.
Yeah. Nice. We're still a ways out from those, though, right? You can
purchase the R.E.A.L glasses right now. There's the Rokit glasses on Amazon, which I'm not gonna buy because it looks not as good as the.
I know they've got those, but I'm thinking of like when I'm thinking of AR, I think I'm thinking beyond what something like in the R.E.A.L glasses do. I think like more of like a Black Mirror type AR. You go like
But Oculus is releasing their headset that's going to have that AR support too.
Yeah. See, that's kind of my thought. At least my thoughts have been up until now. Really, the best VR or the best AR is VR that allows AR, because then you could get the full big, field of view and. Yeah.
They both provide a pretty wide field of view. Not as wide as like the Star VR headsets, right? Remember those?
Oh yeah, those things are massive.
Yeah, I kind of, if you can get something like that in a smaller form package, physics be damned, right? That would be really, really nice. I think to me, shrinking of the technology, the performance increases and the hardware basically becoming better is going to be very beneficial to VR. I do believe that would be the case also with AR. I was having having a discussion with some of my friends about the VR and AR glasses. They shouldn't really be separated in my mind. To me, if you're going to have AR and VR, I think they both should be merged at one point, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's awesome. So I want to really thank you, because there's a bunch of us, Days Netic, Paradise Decay, myself, and Verified Games. We all now make videos for YouTube with side by side with your shader. Yeah. Verified Games, that's he wanted to do, because Prey came out, he wanted to do a video for Predator. Hunting Grounds, and it's got anti-cheat. So the only way he could have done it was with BlueSkyDefender's Super Depth 3D, and it looks stunning.
Now he used anti-cheat in that?
They have anti-cheat.
Nah, they put anti-cheat in too many games.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. It's the same way. What was that Left 4 Dead clone that came out recently has that in there? I can't remember. Back 4 Blood, is that what the name is? I think yeah, you couldn't connect that. I mean, Vorpex worked with its demo, but it didn't work with the actual game.
No, not with the actual game.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. If it has a single player, I really wish developers did this. I'm not calling out any developers, but I'm calling out developers. Look, if you guys have a multiplayer component to your game, you could separate it. It's not necessary to have that in line with the single player. You don't.
Yep.
We have, on the PC side, you have a big community of modders, and if they mod your game, your single player game, allow it.
Yeah, it's
gonna bring you. It's gonna
make more sales.
Yeah, more sales. What? You don't like money? What's going on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just allow it. It's something that should be allowed, right?
Just like those Rockstar games, I wouldn't have bought any of them if it wasn't for Luke Ross's mods.
Same here. Here.
Yeah, but I understand that certain games like Elden Ring, you want to have a safe or a less inconvenient way for hackers to not be able to access the game and ruin it for others, right? I understand EAC in that game, right? I understand how it should work for the multiplayer components in that game. It's just that it's a hindrance. It's a very strong hindrance as well. But like I said, if you're using it with my shader, for the developers out there, there's no worry. You're not getting a competitive advantage if you're using Depth 3D. It's impossible. I'm not like I said. It's actually probably a detriment because there's missing information, and you won't be able to aim as well, right? Because of that missing information. So it's pretty safe to use my shader in online games.
Yeah.
I've done it with GTFO.
Yeah. Well,
GTFO runs. Yeah, I couldn't run the VR mod because I'm using the laptop. about Depth 3D. Holy crap! Me and Desnetic, we played. That's how we finished the first level.
There's another fun game. If you guys ever get to try it, it's Vermintide. Try that online.
Somebody really just messaged me today about that one. Asked if I had it. Yeah. I've never played it.
Oh, it's fun, cool. Especially with Depth 3D. I need to go in there and check the profile because that was one of the very first games that actually came out with like EAC and still worked with my shader. Other things to remember though, if you guys want to use, sometimes the whitelisting doesn't always have the latest Reshade, right? You'll probably have to use an older version of Reshade to use it in EAC type games, in older EAC type games, if they don't update EAC, because EAC allows for that whitelisting, right? But if Reshade's whitelisted and the game is online, it should mostly work most of the time. There are some games where we don't allow it, or the game triggers the Reshade's built-in depth detection disabling for when there's online network traffic. And one of the games is Halo, right? But I don't recommend playing Halo with my shader unless you really are desperate, right? I'm talking about Halo Master Chief Collection. It's like multi-games. It's kind of difficult to use it with my shader. But there is a profile for that. You could try it out. I think the best one would be for the last Halo in that series, the Halo 4 in the Master Chief Collection, were actually very, very fun to play with the shader. But other than that, all the other ones had weird issues, right? Halo Reach, the weapon hand. I don't know why they did this, but the weapon hand, when you moved up and down, the depth buffers the plane for the depth buffer will actually shift with the weapon. And I actually wrote I made a video of it. I wrote it to their developer forums, reporting it as an issue. I never got a response back from them, and this was right after they said, "Oh, we're going to be open to mods and modification. We're going to be trying to fix issues that come with the game." I got no response. This is different from when I had an issue with Turok, when we had it from that. I forget the developer. It's the one with the tentacle or the octopus head thing. I forget their name.
Yeah, I don't.
They do the remakes, right? With the like Quake, the new Quake remake or remastered or whatever they call it. Very good game to play with my shader, by the way. If you ever had the time to play that, I loved it, and even the mods work with it too. It's very very cool. That's one game I actually do love, the original Quake. But yeah, I contacted the developer with an issue I had with one of their games where it used to, like, the depth buffer used to come in and out at a high rate. It was very weird. And yeah, they sent me a message and that they were working on it, and then a patch later they fixed it. So I'm just trying to say that there are good developers out there. It's not always like they're evil, they put anti-cheat, right? We do have good developers there that do interact with the community, and they do want to actually help and make the our scene better. It's just trying to get in contact.
All right, okay, guys. Wow. I think that's going to be it for this show. BlueSkyDefender, thank you so much for being on the show. That was awesome. So much information.
Oh my gosh, Joe, you just
blew it out of the water there.
Yeah, but if you guys need a comment or a quote or anything, you can go ahead and ask me. I'll be like one of those guys that come on CNN, right?
I don't know what they call them, but yeah. We'll be more independent media, though. Screw CNN.
The guy's gonna be bought out pretty soon, right?
All right. Okay, guys, so that's it for this episode of MODcast VR. Once again, thanks so much, Blue Sky, for being here. Hey, make sure you hit like and subscribe and click that little bell thingy and comment on the video afterwards. We love the engagement. We're getting great engagement with every show. It's awesome. Make sure, if you want, you can go to get yourself some MODcast merch. You can get a t-shirt, you can get a mug. There's other stuff on there. I don't know what all is on there. Just put a bunch of crap on there.
Bags and stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of shit.
Posters.
But yep, that's it for us this time. So we'll see you in a couple weeks with some more VR modding news. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.